Hello my Wolfpack and welcome to a slightly different Spyro video today. So I have produced kind of a theory on Elora and what is her backstory. Now, none of this is official, this is all speculation, just kind of my thoughts, kind of placing a backstory together, thinking through how events probably could have occurred in real life and also just how things would kind of add up. And I was thinking the other day about how Hunter, Elora, and the Professor don't seem to have their own uh, realms or worlds that they live in. They just seem to go between all of the different realms. Now, I was thinking firstly, what about Hunter? And I came up with kind of a theory for Hunter, but I do need to work on that a little bit more. So that will be coming out at some point soon. But then I thought about Elora, and then I thought, hold on, Elora is a fawn. We have seen fawns before. We have seen fawns in Fracture Hills. We've seen fawns and both fawns and satyrs in Fracture Hills. Now, I know saying that they're the same species doesn't really add up necessarily because you have satyrs in both Magma Cone and Fracture Hills, but if you think about it, the attitudes of the fawns in Fracture Hills are kind of similar to Elora. Elora does have a bit of sass to her by saying, "I'm a fawn, you dork." That's that kind of sass. She seems to have a little bit of sassiness, especially at the start she was in the original games. And in Fracture Hills, whenever you talk to the fawns, they seem to be quite sassy with you as well. Now, this just seems to add up together pretty well to kind of place Elora in Fracture Hills, where she would have been born. But Elora is very, very different to the fawns in Fracture Hills. As we see, the fawns in Fracture Hills are fairly tall, they're fairly slim, they're really sassy, they're a different colour. Whereas Elora is slightly different. Now, I think Elora was born different colour, maybe a little bit of a different kind of stature than the other fawns that were there, and this caused her to become outcast somewhat. So she was never part of that group, and that made her feel unwanted, that made her feel that she had no ties to Fracture Hills, and eventually would go on to travel. I think that she would just feel so not necessarily negative, but she wouldn't really feel that she was part of the community in Fracture Hills, and that maybe somewhere else would feel more fitting for her. As we know, she did find a more fitting relationship with kind of Hunter and the Professor, where they seem to get on a lot better, and Zoe, for example. And assuming that she went through a portal and started travelling through the different worlds, she would probably meet up with Hunter, who seems to be a bit of a floater, going through all the different worlds, kind of being in a variety of different worlds in Spyro 2 and 3. And I think she would have met up with Hunter. Hunter assumably would know the Professor by this point, and they would then kind of trio together. The Professor would probably see something in Elora because she, again, it seems kind of smart. She knows what she's doing. She has that kind of sass. She has kind of somewhat leadership skills, mentoring skills as well. So he could potentially see something in her and want her to kind of help him out and kind of support him, maybe knowing himself kind of what it's like to be kind of outcasted, because we don't know where the Professor is from. We don't know what world the Professor is from. We're assuming that these are all from Avalar. But we can't. I can't personally place the Professor in any of the worlds in Avalar. If you can, please do let me know below. Just because I've kind of gone through each of them and I thought, the Professor doesn't quite fit in here. But Elora seems to fit into Fracture Hills. Hunter again doesn't seem to fit anything, but I have a different theory for Hunter. But yeah, Elora just seems to fit into Fracture Hills, and I think that she has gone travelling away from Fracture Hills, where she met with Hunter in another world. Maybe, for example, Scorch, where Hunter may have been lurking around, or Hunter could have been lurking around in Autumn Plains or somewhere, to which then they would go and find the Professor, and they would then kind of roam around together, kind of like the pack in Ice Age, made up of 3 completely different animals, but still got that strong, intimate relationship together. I think that this probably is what Elora's kind of story would be. Very kind of vague, I know, but I think that she would have started off in Fracture Hills. She wouldn't have fit into the groups, so she would have ended up leaving just because she was different, travelling, found Hunter. They found the Professor through Hunter, and they just were a trio from then on. She then got into support with the Professor and started helping him out with stuff, kind of similar to how Spyro helps the Professor out in kind of like Hero's Tale and stuff, kind of having that kind of good relationship with him. But yes, that is kind of my idea for Elora's backstory. I don't know how how much truth there would be to it. I know there's no backstory really of any of the characters other than Spyro. In the Legend of series, Spyro has a lot of backstory, I suppose, but a lot of the characters don't really have too much of a backstory as far as I can remember. Kind of just going off of things that kind of feel right to me. But again, if you have any theories of what Elora's backstory could be, please do let me know below. Comment down below and have a chat. Let me know what you think, and yeah, that is all. I hope you enjoyed this. A little bit different, I know. I've got an idea for Hunter's backstory, so I will probably be posting that at some point soon. But yes, that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm getting out of here, so I'll see you soon.